Guys, it's April and I am attempting to figure out kind of where I want to set up these colors. Because I know that a lot of, especially my brushable inks, because of how they've sat over the last couple years, the ink tones have changed. So I'm trying to figure out, I would really love to use this like brushable baby pink, but I don't think it's going to be that light anymore, so I might have to do the sugared pink. No, this one actually, okay, I can't use that side. But that side's pretty nice. And I might be able to actually use them together. Yeah, okay. So those are, I want to use in this picture. I also have to decide if I want to use more of a minty color or more of a like pale green color. So I wanted to get, I'm leaning more towards like this minty color. But that's just me personally. But then I'm starting to think about, okay, what colors would I want for in the candle? I've got the possibility of, that's almost a little too neon-y for my like. But once again, I don't know if, yeah, see, these have just been sitting. In an uncomfortable spot. So I don't know if I even want to use either of them. That's this end, right? But I did pick out some of these browner tones if I wanted to go that direction. Those are almost the same color now. They're supposed to be different colors. Let's take the Staedtler out because it's not really adding anything, I don't think. Well, maybe. I have such a limited range of colors that I can use for the base. I don't think I want this flesh color. I'm wondering if I can make a lot of the rest of this kind of work. Okay. So we're gonna try. I'm gonna get a clip so that I can clip all of this down. Okay. 6. Okay. And I can definitely do quite a bit of touch up on the color palette when we get to, say, the colored pencils. Forgot to take the lens cap off. Hi friend, welcome. These are just like pretty standard student grade watercolor markers, but I'm gonna go over top of them with some colored pencils afterwards. So I'm just kind of creating a base layer with what I have right now. I just want to get the tops of all of these candle kind of done in, and then I'll choose what colored pencils I'm gonna do over top of them. So I'm thinking about the fact that these colors are going to be layered, and because I am going to be using colored pencils, I can get a slightly lighter tone if I need it, because I definitely don't have that in the marker range that I have. So right now in my hand I have 3 different types of water-based markers. I mean, they're essentially just like the Crayola Super Tips, but some of them have a brush tip. So I've got several Staedtlers, I've got a Zig, and then I've got this Zig brushable. Some of these, I believe, were originally for scrapbooking. I know the Brushables were big in the scrapbooking world for a little while. And this kind of goes down neon, but it does lighten up. So I'm just trying to get that quick base layer in. And that's exactly what I did for the flame too. I just got some water-based markers, and then I've got that colored pencil on top. The thing about Kerby's works is he always has some nice shading lines you can always follow. I'll let that dry and we'll do the last one over there. Cause yeah, I think I'm gonna go and hopefully get more pastel-y over top of that with some of the colored pencils. Cause that's a technical word. It's always a little nerve-wracking when you start a new section and you aren't 100% sure. If the colors are going to lay down the way you think they're going to. But I really wanted to pull these markers out because I haven't used them in quite a long time. And as you could see when I did some of the swatching, that the color settles weird if you don't use them. I probably should do an inventory of those markers. Maybe retire a few of them. Usually when I retire my coloring markers, they end up as journaling markers. Hi friends, we've got a lot of people showing up in the chat today. I love it. You get to see the pure chaos that is me deciding how to color things on the fly. And the colored pencils I'm trying to stick with, at least on this piece, is the Ohuhu oil-based colored pencils. Because I'm using my Polychromos in my Holbein on my Posh coloring page. And I don't want to get my colors confused. So I'm trying to use different mediums for each of the different pictures, just so I can keep them straight. Okay. Now the real question is, can we find some good colored pencil colors? Because the mongoose, I think, might be a good one to start with, which is what, 314. And then when we get into some of the warmer tones, I want to bring in, do I want to bring in the cinnamon a little bit? I kind of do. But the tan would also be good. And I think I want to hit the dark with some more of like those warm toned browns, not necessarily those cool tone browns. So I could go as deep as the Van Dyke here. Maybe get ooh, choices, choices, choices. Do I want the Barista? Or do I want the Van Dyke? I think I want the Barista. I think I'll use the marker as the dark tones, which is 144, which is why I used it in the first place. And so that darkness is going to show through. The real question is, do I shift more to the tan notes or do I run with that cinnamon? I'm going to get them both out. I might run with both of them. And I know that seems weird, but I want to give it a little bit of a dynamic. You can kind of see the glow a little bit, the heat, I guess. What, 359? Okay. Now I just have to find all these. So I've got the mongoose. That's going to need sharpened. What? 144. 147. And okay, all these are going to need sharpened. And if I can get this in a slightly better order. There we go. Give me a quick second while I sharpen this. Okay, so yeah, I can answer that question real quick. Let me get my color chart. So the warm browns are usually what I consider when you go and you hit some of the like the reddish browns. So for polychromos, so like let's say you've got like the things like the burnt sienna, which is what, 283. So you can kind of see how it's got like that reddish tone to it. And then the cooler browns is, you know, you start leaning more towards, you've got like notes of, it almost feels purpley because it's got notes of blue in it. So you can start to come down in some of these flatter areas where not these reds, but then you hit something like 177, which is what color? It's a walnut brown. So it's got some of that purple hint. So it feels warmer. It's not so, or it feels cooler. So it's not like that warm red tones. And then you've got some of the browns that have green in it. And so they feel a little cooler as well. So anything when you've got like the added like greens and the blues in the undertone, those are what I consider cool colors. And then if you have things like the yellows and the oranges and the reds added to the brown, those would be more of like the warmer browns. So you get into some of the almost what we consider like skin tones, where they've got brown in it, but they've got the underlayer of the yellows and the oranges and the reds, compared to like some of the purple tones, or the blue tones, or the green tones. Does that make sense? Does that explain it a little more? And that's how I keep things straight in my head. Anything that is yellow, red, or orange is going to be in those warmer tones. And anything in the blue, greens, and purples are more of those cooler tones because they're leaning heavier in that direction. But when you get, it's really weird, because when you get into the neutrals or the natural colors, a lot of times they have those colors in the base. That's why you have cool grays and warm grays, is for the same reason. I was sharpening pencils. I'm like, wait, what was I doing? But no, that was not a stupid question. That was actually a good question. Because color theory can get really complicated if you let it. That's why when you're building a color palette, sometimes certain browns or grays work a little better with what you're doing. Okay. Let's see what we can do with these colors. I am starting with the 144, which is the barista. This is part of the reason I really like using markers and colored pencils together, because maybe you don't have the exact right shade of something. But if you use a certain marker for an undertone, you can do a lot of cool things really quickly. Oh, Albus. Hold on, I've gotta help the dog real quick. Come here, Albie Bear. Do you want up on the chair? Okay, let me help. Fold you in. And I think overall, because it is a candle, I do want to keep the piece feeling more on the warmer side, so you can like feel the heat and the light from the candle. And sometimes it's fun to mix some of the most random colors together. You can get some really cool effects. For the most part, you are correct. Browns do live mostly in the warm range. Because naturally, to get more of the brown colors, you've got a lot more of the oranges in there. But sometimes they have leanings, as I like to call them. I don't know if that's the technical term or not. Oops, broke that tip. Might even bring a little bit of the white in as well. I don't know. I'm gonna do something a little sneaky. Bring in some yellow and some white real quick. I don't even know if the camera's picking this up. No, this white isn't nearly as powerful as the Holbein or the what I've heard of the Prisma White. But it changes it a little bit. So yeah, I'll definitely have to take a picture. So you can see the contrast a little better. Yeah, there at that angle you can see a little bit more of the yellows that I just added in. I guess part of the thing is like browns and grays are kind of like cousins of each other. When you think of like grays, you mostly think of cool grays, something that has a lot of like of the bluer tones to it, the blacker tones. In browns, you think of more of those redder, warmer colors, but both of them could have like the opposite leaning. They'll still be mostly, you know, warm or cool, or have notes of the warm or cool, but they'll just be a little bit different than just like the standard cool gray or the standard warm brown. It's just because a little bit of that added contrasting color. That's why when you think of like a warm gray, it almost feels like it's leaning towards brown. Or if you see a cool brown, it's starting to lean towards gray. It's almost got like this like matte feel, like it's been flattened. So the warm or the cool browns are the browns that almost feel green, or they almost feel gray. I can show you a little bit of that when I get this candle done. You see it a little bit more in wider color ranges. So if you've got a set of anything that has over 160 different colors in it, you'll see it a little bit more there. Because a lot of the standard sets will lean more towards the warm browns, because that's what we think of when we think of browns. And this is Color Theory, brought to you by April, a person who stares at color for way too long. Okay, let me switch cameras real quick. Starting to get some dynamic looks there. Okay. So we're talking about cool browns, I guess. Like I said, you're leaning down in this range where you're starting to get some of those like purpley undertones or some of those like greeny undertones, and it almost feels a little gray. So what is it I mentioned? I mentioned 177 in the polychromos, which is like that walnut brown. And yes, you are going to see some of the red tones in there. But if you compare it to some of like the browns, it's starting to feel a little more purple, or a little more, like I said, gray. That's a Holbein, but let's see if I got a good, do I have a good example of what I mean? It's not that it's like completely devoid of the warm tones. It's just that there are more blues and more greens than some of the other browns. Does that make sense? It's like I'm trying to like explain it in my brain. I'm wondering if some of the Holbein color names will explain it a little better. It's like 184. I'm gonna laugh if I don't even have it in here because I've got it pulled. The names just got too long, which is why I don't have them written on my color charts. I think I got them. I'm using them. What's 195? Of course, I got both of those already pulled out. Oh. But yeah, that's how I think. See, I mean, when you get into some of like the even lighter browns, where you've got some of those tans that either lean more towards the green or they lean more towards the pink, that's where you can really see it. I don't know. I like talking about color theory. So feel free to keep asking questions like that. I enjoy it. Okay, so we've got that. Oops, pulled one too many cards out. Got that last one to do. This is part of what I got my degree in, if you can believe it or not. That colored pencil is just not going to stay put. And here's a random weird fun fact. It also comes down to how you see color. Because not everyone sees color the same way, which is one of the hardest lessons ever to learn. Because there are a lot of people whose rods and cones in their eyes don't quite work the same way as mine. So the color range that some people can see is vastly limited. So if you have something like a red-green deficiency, you're gonna see everything that has any of those colors like in the base layer or in the undertones, you're gonna see them the exact same way. So I could be sitting here babbling on about warm browns and cool browns, and in reality, to that person, all of those browns look the same. Just because they can't perceive red and green as different colors. Which I find absolutely fascinating. Yeah, my brother, he's got the red-green deficiency, which is why I'm so aware of it in the first place. But what's really interesting is when you're designing things for usability and how all of that can actually change on how things are actually read on a screen. The real question is, and the one that hasn't been asked yet, am I bleeding through the paper with as much markers as I've been using on this yet? I haven't checked in a while, and I'm honestly kind of nervous to check. That's why I was trying not to get too layery with the markers. I am liking how that's turning out though. Shall we check? You know what? I can't say that I 100% know either, but I like to make things up. And so far I think it's looking pretty okay. I do like to use like reference photos though too. Yeah, I like how that's coming together. Okay, anyways, we were not doing too bad. You can see a little bit up where the flame was, where I maybe pressed too hard. But overall, I think we're doing okay, which is good. I've got, what, maybe a half hour or so left. I don't know if I want to get into the stonework yet, but I'm wondering if I should start adding a touch of the pink and the green notes in places. Just get some base layer down. Don't think I'm gonna get any more Thank you, Albus, for your opinion. Color pencils out for today. I think I want to do some notes of the rest of this. Oops. I'll be streaming this coloring page specifically. I usually do it every Saturday around this time. That's my goal. But I do weekday streams right now where I'm coloring all in colored pencils at the moment, in the Posh coloring book inspired by nature. Little tiny people. My own little candle cult. Gotta decide if I want to add any color to the facade of the buildings. Oops, that was the wrong side. Which is why I'm normally not a huge fan of double-sided markers. Hit the point where I'm like, do I? What do I? How am I? Huh? I just kind of want hints of this mint green because I am going to go over it, and it's gonna be more in that tan realm. Question is, how far do I want to take the green? Oops, that was my wristwatch. Okay. Thank you guys for stopping by. Love the conversation. This is a big section. This is me just kind of sketching out kind of what I'm thinking. Ultimately, I don't know if the minty green is gonna have as much presence as I originally thought I was gonna go with on this. I'm just going to finish up these. Probably call it good for today. I'm not going to get the colored pencil layer down. Okay. May look a little crazy right now, but it will make sense, I promise. See if I can get this cleaned up a little bit. There we go. Oh, I can take this out too. That might help a little bit. So that's the start of the base layer at the bottom. Kind of want to bring in some of those green tones. And I think in the middle here, I might bring in some of the pink tones when we're doing, say, like the columns and the, ooh, I had the name of them, but any of the intricate pieces on this part, I think I'm going to add just a touch of pink to it. But then I'm going to keep everything kind of still these tannish tones. That's what I'm going for at least. So I will get back to this piece, like I mentioned, next Saturday. Otherwise, I will be doing, let's see if I can get this out without toppling everything. During the weekday, I will be doing this piece right here. I've been using polychromos and Holbeins for this one. So if you want to be notified when I'm going live for any of those, feel free to subscribe down below. I usually, a day or so before I'm going to go live, I'll put the schedule up so that you can get a reminder. But I'll also post it on all of my socials so you can follow me over there as well. I did enjoy all of you guys being here today and asking questions and just interacting with me. It made my heart happy. But I do hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I heart you beautiful faces. Bye.